Hey Moonlovers, welcome to another episode of All Things Moon, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life with myself, Kelly Jones. And normally I tell you loads about my week and stuff, and I've had a lovely sociable weekend. Tom is on his way back from Wales at the moment, been camping with his friend, foraging for mushrooms and stuff, and experiencing the shadow fade of Mercury retrograde that's coming up, with a few power issues down there in their camper van and no heating, no lights. Myself, I got stuck in a traffic jam on my way to my friend's house in Felixstowe. Every time I go to her house, there is some kind of hold up. But I prayed for a smooth journey, but it did actually have to sit, and traffic where you've got to turn your engine off and sit there and just listen to a podcast or something. But I've had a really nice sociable week seeing my friends, but I'm not going to harp on about my own week too much because there is so much to get through. And I don't need to tell you that, this past week or so has been, very Uranus, Mars, Pluto opposition. Remembering that in that opposition, an opposition is exactly what it sounds like. It can only go this way or that way. And at the moment, we know which way it's gone. And there's been a lot of Uranus sudden shock energy out there. And there is more to come because we have got much more strong Uranus energy arriving right now in this next week. So I'm just going to crack on. I've got lots of notes here so I don't forget to tell you anything. And I'm going to have to be kind of brief about most of it. So I really do suggest, if you want a more in-depth version of what I am sharing with you today, to sign up for my next full moon ceremony. And I will put the link in the show notes so you can sign up. At the moment, I'm just waiting for my brother to tell me whether he is expecting to see me on his birthday, which is the day of the full moon in Taurus. So if I'm seeing him, then I won't be doing the moon ceremony that evening. I'll be doing it on the Saturday, the day after. So the moon ceremony will either be on the 15th or the 16th, and it's always 8 till 9:30 p.m. UK time. But by the time I've recorded this, put it out, the link to book on for that will be there, and that's for an hour and a half. So you get a lot more in-depth information about what's coming up. So without further ado, let's crack on. So I'm just going to list out things that are going on in the next week. So we have a full moon in Taurus on the 15th, and that full moon is going to be conjunct Uranus. And on the same day, we also have Saturn stationing direct after being retrograde for quite a long time. We are also in the shadow phase of Mercury turning retrograde, which won't happen fully. He won't station fully until the 25th of November. But as I've just previously mentioned, when the shadow phase happens, it's like a big tanker coming into port, slowing down in what was a nice calm sea, creating waves. So that is what is happening, slowing down as he comes into port to station and stop. So we are experiencing that already. On the 19th, so that's 4 days after the full moon in Taurus, conjunct Uranus, with Saturn stationing direct, we have got Pluto entering Aquarius and leaving Capricorn for the rest of our lifetime. So this week coming up is huge. But, however, we're going to start on a somewhat nicer energy. which is that currently, by the time you listen to this, this is Sunday the 10th of November, so I expect you probably won't be listening to it at least until tomorrow, which is Monday the 11th, 11/11. And by the way, my online moon ceremonies are £11 and 11p. So if you wanted to sign, there it is. Venus goes into Capricorn tomorrow. So Venus is quite fast moving. She's been in Sagittarius and now she's moving into Capricorn. And also, I'm going to go tell you about as well that Mars is currently now in the sign of Leo. So a little bit of rest for the Cancerians. So Venus in Capricorn. So Venus, the goddess of love, represents love, beauty, pleasure, values, and money. She is the ruling planet of Taurus, and we have that full moon in Taurus coming up on the 15th. Capricorn. So Venus is going to be in the sign. So the planet Venus is going to be in the sign, the zodiac sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is stationing direct on the day of the full moon in Taurus. Saturn is the task master. It represents structure, foundations, boundaries, a lot more than that. But they're the things I'm going to focus on here in this Capricorn energy. So this could bring up a feeling of feeling a bit more ambitious, especially as we have Mars in Leo, and Leo likes to be seen. Mars is action. So with Venus being in Capricorn, we could get this feeling of feeling a bit more ambitious, but in a down-to-earth way. And maybe we feel the urge to set our foundations, much more solid foundations for our ambitions, and to create solid boundaries, particularly in relation to our self-expression. Leo, Mars in Leo. Leo is about self-expression. Venus is about our romantic relationships and also our relationship to self, because it's to do with love and self-love, and also earning money. So I also see Capricorn, although Capricorn is actually officially a feminine energy sign, I see Capricorn as the solid but very strict father with that Saturn ruling planet. And that may be that a sense of, demanding that we grow up and act with maturity around the subjects of Venus, love, relationships, beauty, values, money. So I'm not going to say too much more about Venus in Capricorn, but that is what we are in right now. So that might be something healthier, of a higher expression for us to focus on, because I've had some messages since my podcast last week with the Mars Pluto, with the US elections, which I'm not going to harp on about too much. But I saw, posts on Instagram and things where people were feeling very anxious, depressed, shocked, scared. And it's my job, it's my purpose to share things with you that bring you into the higher expression of yourself, to bring you into a higher frequency. And if you listen to last week's podcast where we talked about the map of consciousness, about these lower frequencies and the higher frequencies, in what emotions they reside in. So, hopelessness, fear, anger, all of that, they are lower frequencies. So if we can focus our attention towards our Venus, where is your Venus in your chart? How can you be practical? How can you be mature around the subject rather than freaking out like a victim with no power? And that really is the subject of this podcast today, is to not give your power away. So coming on to talk a little bit more about Mars in Leo. So Mars in Leo would be about leading from our heart space with courage. Leo represents courage. Leo represents the heart, self-expression. So when Mars was going through Cancer, and it will be going back through Cancer again when it turns retrograde later on, I think it's December the 6th. But when it was going through Cancer, what it was doing was highlighting our past, how our past experiences are still affecting us now in our present moment, and wanted us to understand the impact of maybe our childhood, how we've been nurtured, supported around safety and security, and how that has affected our present situations, behaviors, what motivate us, what desires we have. So how that affects us. And in my own life, if you've been listening to my podcast, you know that I said I have been shown my past. And during my hypnotherapy session, to help me with my jaw problem, where my jaw got locked shut, my mouth got locked shut through a fear of expressing my truth, which has been brought on through behaviors and things right back to my childhood, epiphanies of how I seek security and safety, particularly around money that is shared, because it's in my 8th house. So this is so interesting that now that Mars is in traveling through Leo, it's going to give us, a little bit more courage, take a bolder approach to things, to take a risk. We'll be a bit more proactive in expressing ourselves in creativity. But more than anything, we will feel more like we can stand up for ourselves. So coming back to that map of consciousness, remembering that courage was that one step above the line between that lower frequency of apathy to the higher frequency of courage that can get us moving up that map of consciousness. So Mars in Leo can help us with that. Phew. So as I said, we've got this shadow of Mercury retrograde appearing. Mercury is in the sign of Sagittarius. So my rising sign is Sagittarius. Sagittarius represents things like long distance travel, things like philosophy, the big picture, truth, justice, ruled by Jupiter. Mercury is the planet of communication in the sign of the truth seeker, and that's truth with a capital T for Sagittarians. So communicating your truth authentically is asking us to review and relook at how we speak up, how we speak with authenticity. We are already seeing messages out there on the world stage as well about reviewing, redoing, renewing. Remember, retrogrades are everything. About uncensored speech, when we can't say what we want to say for fear of offending, for fear of being shut down, for fear of being cast out, for fear of being wrong. Sometimes it's okay to be wrong and admit that you're wrong. And we are seeing messages out there in this shock that we've all had about uncensored speech, being able to speak our truth without being shut down, cast out, written off. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. And Gemini loves details. Mercury likes information and gossip. But Sagittarius, as I said, loves the big picture, philosophy. Mercury is kind of in its detriment in Sagittarius. Sagittarius and Gemini are opposite each other. So Mercury is happy in Gemini, but not so himself, if you like, in Sagittarius, because the likelihood of the importance of the details will probably be missed because we're focused on that broader message. So an example I would like to give, just, focusing on this election results and things, is a message that has been coming out about the uncensoring of, pulling down all these things that say that everything is misinformation, disinformation. No one can say anything unless it agrees with just one thing. Sounds amazing, doesn't it, that big message? But actually, when we get to the nitty-gritty details of actually doing that and how that's going to be done and whether that actually happens, because Mercury is the trickster, can pull the wool over your eyes, we won't be focused on that right now. There will be information that's missing. How are you going to achieve that at this stage? Anyway, so I just tell you this so that you can see how this is playing out energetically from where everything is situated in the cosmos, those cosmic rays coming down and what they are affecting based on looking back at the likelihoods of cycles of time. So, the full moon in Taurus, conjunct Uranus. Where do I start? So, as I said, I'm going to cover things briefly here and recommend again that you attend my full moon ceremony, on the 15th or the 16th of November, because there's just too much to share in detail here because I've only got like 30 minutes. So remember that full moons, wherever they are a time for, is a culmination point, is illumination, is a time for releasing, letting go. And this full moon, the moon is at 24 degrees of Taurus and Uranus is at 25. So they are sitting next to each other, holding hands. The moon represents the people. Uranus is the planet of sudden shocks, radical change, and awakenings. Again, the truth. It's rebellious, it's revolution. So we might find that what we have been hanging on to, because the moon is a ruler of Cancerian, and Cancerians love to hang on to things in a sentimental way. They don't like to hurt people's feelings. They want everything to be lovely and people-pleasing and nice. And they get emotional about letting go of things. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it last week, but I did drop some stuff at a charity shop and I let go of something I'd been holding on to from my dad's house in my car for 7 years. And I finally let go of something I had sentimental emotion around. So we might find that what we've been hanging on to might fall away in an absolute instant, because Uranus is sudden. If there's something you've been wanting to let go of, this can be helpful, but don't Be prepared for that suddenness. Uranus has been traveling through Taurus for almost 7 years, and it will be moving signs next year. And I was listening to Rick Merlin Levine, astrologer. You know, he's been an astrologer for over 40 years, and he was saying that him and his fellow master astrologers out there have been looking at what's going on now, and they can't see anywhere where this has all happened before in these next 2 years between now and 2027. The alignment, the moving of the major planets that we can see more or less with the naked eye, and slightly beyond that, but the main ones that we're aware of, the ones that you learn about in school, so many of those planets are moving signs within such a short space of time of each other. And some of those are on that degree of the beginning of Aries, which is the beginning again. The end comes before the beginning. So these are really amazing times, and Uranus is so involved in this radical change and shift. So being in this last decan of the sign that it's in the later degrees, 25 degrees, still retrograde actually, so feeling it stronger, it will be bringing conclusions to its purpose in the sign of Taurus, which represents Earth, those Venusian things of values, money, food, pleasure. In the next few months, it's coming to its close, just like Pluto is in the next few days. You know, unprecedented times. For me personally, this upcoming full moon is going to be in my 6th house of daily routines of health, wellness, and work. And I can already see those incoming energies and how they've already been showing up and revealing themselves. Yesterday, I went to a wedding reception in London, and somewhere along the way, not just my glasses, but I had like quite a big case for my glasses, but I've lost the whole thing. You know, you'd think I'd notice if a box like this fell out of my handbag somewhere, but I have lost my glasses along the way. But I have been needing new glasses for months, and I need to see properly. I need to see more clearly. This is the sign. I need to see more clearly. So this is forcing me, unless somebody hands me those glasses, I have got to go and get some new ones very, very fast. What else? Taking care of my jaw, my health, going to the chiropractor, taking care of my neck, doing more yoga, Ashtanga yoga to feel physically stronger, changing some of my habits, taking care of my jaw so I can speak my authentic truth, self-expression, so I can do that with more ease. I cannot do this to myself anymore. This needs to come out. I need to express who I really am without being shut down, without giving my power away. Such sudden epiphanies that will change everyday life, for sure. Also, just before I came on here, I record, it works better for me to record this podcast on this Riverside platform through a browser called Brave, funnily enough. And the image of Brave is a lion, Leo. So, you know, the signs are all there, but when I put it up, it tells you how many blocks and things it has made for you, so that, you know, you're not getting all these pop-ups and things. And the number was 555. So before I came on, I decided to check what the angel number 555 means. And it's a sign of big potential for change and transformation. And I'm doing this podcast not just for me, I'm doing it to share this with you. So take that as a sign for yourself as well, for the whole world. The other aspect that we need to talk about is Saturn stations direct in Pisces on the same day as a full moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus. Saturn, though, will help us here. So Saturn, discipline, strictness, maturity, practicality as well. In Pisces, which is that spiritual, fluid, flowing energy, our spiritual practice. It's going to help us to get some discipline, to help us have a mature approach and a practical, methodical way of getting through this unpredictable period of time. If we tap into it, if we choose to do that. Pisces, one of the rulers of Pisces is Neptune. And Pisces and Neptune, that energy can be very victim. Do we want to be a victim of what's going on, or do we want to take our power back? So we have some control over our lives if we cannot control the world. This shift challenges us to move beyond being a victim or looking for a savior and take solid steps, grounded, to get towards our dreams, Neptune, our visions, and bring it into reality, Saturn, rather than remaining stuck in that illusion, that fantasy of how you'd like it to be, but it's not. False hope, letting go of false hope. Sometimes it's good to give up, surrender, and tap into what is real and what you can do for you within your reality, instead of expecting someone else to change it for you. So my final message today then is, do not give your power away. And I laugh to myself because I have just received this beautiful, I'll try and shine it in the light, see if you can see that. So this is a beautiful raw malachite pendant that a friend of mine, Lois, who has Lone Wolves Creatives, she's the partner of Sam Ryder. You might have seen my tangerine quartz that I wear a lot of the time, which I got from her after my dad died. And I just saw this and I ordered it, and I said to her, what do I need this for? And she said, well, when it calls, it calls. And actually it's for supporting you through change when you are seeking change, to help you get through that in a grounded way. But when it arrived, I said, it looks rather like kryptonite. And I also had the urge, I wore these last night and they happened to be out today, so I put them on again. They're moonstone, but they're also moldavite. And a lot of people say that moldavite is like kryptonite as well. So I say kryptonite because that is what, when you give your power away to outside influences who feed off your power, that is kryptonite. So feeling insecure and unsafe, as we all could right now, in times where we do not know this. We don't know what's coming. It's unpredictable. It's not what we're used to. We've not, we've never been here before because every second is a different second. But sometimes we can go on the past and look at that and say, oh, well, it's always been like this. But that it hasn't always been like this. We're going into times where it hasn't always been like this. You really are going to have to let go of that. But feeling and looking outside ourselves for security is what these whole power structures that have ruled over us for so long. Interestingly, the master astrologers are saying they're having to go back, like 6,000 years or so to try and find something similar to now. And when we look at how things have been very patriarchal and top down powers and kings and queens and things like that, we're looking back at 6,000 years worth of that. So these power structures have ruled over us for so long, and they are crumbling at a fast rate now. But they need us to feel insecure and unsafe so they can feed off of our vulnerabilities. And that's not just governments and things like that. It's also people around us. Who do you have around you that steals your power, that you give your power away to? I strongly feel this at the moment because it's coming up for me. People that feed off of our emotions to feel powerful, rely on us, needing them to save us. So if we revisit again that map of consciousness, recalling that first step above the line to ownership and responsibility for our own frequency, that courage is what we need to step into. Use Mars in Leo for courage. Use this Venus in Capricorn to align with your true values through grounded maturity. Use the Mercury in Sagittarius to speak your truth, to review your truth, how you communicate, or how you must not communicate, and stay quiet when necessary. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listening is communication too. To notice how you feel through your body. Full moon in Taurus. Illuminating what you feel. To move with calm and ease, maybe on your yoga mat, Strala yoga. Do not give too much of yourself away to those who feed off your emotions. I just looked at my emails earlier, just before I came on, and Yasmin Bolin's message today, her oracle card of the day from her Moonology manifestation deck, was trust the universe. And the first line of her email said, it's time to release your grip on the situation, which reminded me of the Hopi prophecy. And the Hopi prophecy says, we are the ones we've been waiting for. And I was going to pull a card from the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck. But as I pulled the cards out of the box, the card on the bottom of the deck was the she-wolf. The she-wolf. Unleash the wild within. Let your wild side up and out. Unleash your talents and your desires. The she-wolf is a powerful shamanic soul who is half wolf and half woman. She is the alpha female who is not afraid to stand out from the crowd, or in this case, the pack. She is wild, unfiltered, uncensored, and unfettered. She encourages you not to be trapped by the limiting factors of weaker members of the pack, or those who are trying to hunt you down because you have gifts they don't like or understand. She represents the energy of the wilderness and the unknown, and encourages you to be free and unchained and go beyond boundaries. Release the animal energy within and track down what you need to do to express your true self. I'm going to leave you with that. If you've got any questions, please do contact me. Please do not be on your own. This is why I share this, so that you don't feel alone with how you're feeling. And I hope to see you at my next moon ceremony. And if not, I look forward to talking to you next week. Take care.